Poke the Bear is brought to you by PrizePicks and the Game Time app.
And welcome into Poke the Bear, episode 287, presented by PrizePicks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $50 back when you play just $5. Just $5. And presented by Game Time. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $20 off that first purchase. Terms apply. I am Evan Marinofski. That is Conor Ryan. Connor, what is up?
Evan, as my voice breaks.
My voice cracked at the start too, Evan.
Evan, I'm doing okay. How you doing?
Don't bend over, you'll lose your lunch.
I know, exactly. I sound like Roz from Monsters Inc. So bear with me a little bit there.
Yeah. Well, anyways, how are you? You doing better?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm good now.
Drinking water. I would hope. A little tired after last night, after Thursday or Tuesday night. Days just blend together at this point. We're a week away from Christmas. Isn't that insane? Like,
thank God.
Am I crazy? And everyone experiences the holiday differently, but I don't know. Maybe it's because Christmas is on a Wednesday and like the prep holiday tournaments are this weekend and then we jump right into Christmas. But like last year felt like a long holiday season. This year feels kind of short. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know whether it's like just the work schedule or what, but yeah, it feels like it's jumped up pretty quick. Haven't gone to any of the Christmas markets yet. Haven't started my like Die Hard marathon yet. Like I feel like I need like a couple days leading into it. And I don't know like whether it's this weekend or what, but you go from like the Bruins are going to be back pretty soon. They got a game on Saturday, got a game on Monday. So you're kind of diving right into the holiday season. It's going to be here before we know it. And then the worst part is like, listen, I love the holiday season anyway. You get to like January through March, we're about to hit the doldrums. It's about to get dour in here.
That post-Christmas stretch after is horrifying. Horrifying. So again, like I want to enjoy this next week as much as I possibly can. Eat as many cookies and gingerbread cookies and everything as eggnog, all that stuff. The Snowport stuff. Like, I'm not the biggest Snowport guy. I go there. Everything's overpriced. It's a lot of stuff I don't need. The vibes are cool, I guess, but it also just is kind of generic. The SOA market I've never been to, which I know you've been to a couple times, but I've been to either of those. It's just been a weird year, I guess, for it. So that's what it is. You know, but Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Really,
just
Christmas cheer
sucks. Anyway, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Quite the night on Tuesday. Bruins down 3-1 to the Flames. That Lomberg goal went in, and I said, all right, well, floodgates are going to open. This is how it goes with this team. They're going to lose this game like 6-1 or 6-2 or something, and they pull it out. 4-3 win. They get the exciting overtime finish. Feels like this team never goes to shootouts. Because thinking about it, I was like, I can't remember the last time they had a shootout. If they even had one this year.
I don't think there's been one this year. And they've won a lot of their overtimes, which was different from, what was it, 2 years ago? Or even last year. I feel like they went to overtime and they would always lose. So it's been a little bit of a different break this year.
Yeah, they've been inconsistent, but they're consistently good in overtime. Case again, on Friday, David Pastrnak scores. I said it after the Canucks win on Bruins beat, like, it was a good win. This Calgary win was good in a different way. You came back, you showed resilience, you mentally tough, all those things that we've wanted to see from this team. I'm still not buying in on like, oh my God, they've got to buy at the deadline. Like this is going to be a playoff team, or an effective playoff team at that. But like, it's encouraging at the very least to string those two together.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at especially what have we said about this team, like when they've been in these rough stretches. We've talked about like the inability to deal with adversity, right? And as you said, you have that Lomberg goal where it's like, all right, well, this one's over, right? Like, and again, it's not being a Debbie Downer or being a pessimist. It's just what have we seen from this team this year that when you have a backbreaking goal like that, it feels like everything just bottoms out. And I mean, there's been stretches where the Bruins feel like they're getting back in games and then something doesn't go their way. And instead of rolling with the punches, clean slate, get back out there and try to, fight back from a deficit, things just continue to get worse. How many times have they been in like a 1-goal deficit and then they go into like the third period and all of a sudden things completely unravel? Like even that Dallas game, right? They were down 2-1 going into the first intermission. things just completely implode with the way they're playing. So, considering that they were pushing for a good chunk of that second period after giving up those 2 early goals, you have something that doesn't go your way with Lomberg, and then they just control play for that whole third period like that.
Oh yeah,
I feel like they're on like a power play, have been an actual good power play, not a Bruins 2024-25 power play where
the Flames still got a great chance on their one power play too.
Of course, yeah. So I mean, encouraging in terms of just the way the Bruins responded. And it's one thing too where like they have that comeback win in St. Louis, right? Where people thought that was a turning point. Like again, we'll see how they respond on Thursday against a very dangerous Oilers team. But I think the manner in which the Bruins controlled play in this game against Calgary, where things weren't going their way, it felt like that was a game where after that, going into the third period, you're like, all right, well, we know what happens next. They're going to lose 4-1, 5-1, hopefully not 5-1, but we know what's going to happen here. And they fought back and clawed back into that game and got the win. So it's been an interesting road trip. Again, I don't know what sweeping conclusions you're taking out of this 4-game stretch so far, right? Because it feels like this is a team that has been plagued by 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. But for where they've been the last couple of games, instead of letting things snowball, to respond on Saturday with a really dominant win against Vancouver, and then Tuesday, a game that didn't feel like it was going their way at all, and they respond and really dominate the end of that one and come away with 2 points. Encouraging to see. It shows that it's not a team that is, continuing to slide backwards, right? As soon as they had like that 4-game winning streak, you're like, all right, this team's on a roll. Oh, a really bad loss to Winnipeg, then you can't have a 0-point effort against Seattle. You were worried like, all right, is it all going to just unravel now? Like, is the new coach bump done? And no, they've responded and really played well these last couple of games.
Yeah, and I think like Joe Sacco took a really smart timeout after those 2 goals. Could see him kind of giving it to the team, and I think like after that they gave up that 1 goal to Lomberg later in the game, but they got, I think it was all 4 goals after that timeout. Not right after, but through the rest of the game. And so like again, smart coaching move and resetting them and all those things. And they're 8-4 since Sacco took over, which like again, one of those losses was 8-1 to Winnipeg, another was to Seattle. Like they've had some doozies, but they've made up some ground. And like, again, I think that's sort of where like I'm with you on this, where, I said last week, I was like, this is going to be a season defining trip, because if they kick ass, then it's, oh my God, this team is back. And if they get crushed, it's like, okay, well, they should just retool. They're doing the fun one. They're going right in the middle. They look like crap for the first 2 games and look amazing for the next 2. I don't think it all falls down to the Winnipeg game, because so far they're 2-2. 3-2 is not that much different from 2-3. I just think they're sort of middle of the pack team. And when you look at this Calgary win, it's a good example of like anything can happen. Like, I think if you were betting on that game when it was 3-1, it's like, oh, I'm taking Calgary, score a bunch more goals. Like, this is how it's going to go. And it didn't go that way. And you saw resilience. Geeky scores 1. Then McLaughlin fights hard to the front of the net, and they dominate the third period. And even after that Lomberg goal, or before the Lomberg goal, they had a long ozone sequence. And that goal only really happened because of a crappy bounce. And that's another way of like mentally tough, like overcoming crap. And it wasn't like the Flames were pinning them in their own zone. It was just bad luck. And then you get Pastrnak in OT, finally shoots the puck, a little confidence with it goes a long way. We'll get into Pastrnak in a second, but like, you can feel good after this. But I go back to like, I don't think anyone should look at that and be like, they can win the cup. Like that's where like you're going way too far ahead of things. I don't think many people are actually saying that. But it's encouraging. It's encouraging. I'm so curious to see what they do on Thursday night in Edmonton, because you hope.
I could not tell you what they're. I have no idea what to expect on Thursday.
No clue. And it's so interesting, because you don't know what to expect from this team. But you can make the games a little bit more fun with PrizePicks, because it's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded savings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Make your holidays bigger and brighter. We were talking about Christmas not having as much Christmas cheer this year. Just, I don't know why, if it's the weather or just the timing of it. PrizePicks is going to help with that. They're the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. You can now win up to, as I said, 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks. They offer MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. Join now because this holiday season, PrizePicks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. Is Christmas tired and Picksmas wired?
That's what I think people are saying. That's what the streets are saying these days, Evan.
Huh. Well, there you go. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app, use code CLNS, get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Run your game. Pastrnak, Lindholm. I thought that was Elias Lindholm's best game as a Bruin. Winning his draws, effective, noticeable every shift. Wasn't just because I was awake for this late game either. Like, I was able to stay awake for this. But, like, almost I want to say dominant, and I get it. You know, he played there for 6 years. He did have the gaffe in that first intermission when he said, "Oh, I don't think things can get much worse." And it was like, bro,
sure enough,
don't say that. And they scored 2 out of the gate. Pastrnak gets that goal. I didn't, he had his moments with the puck earlier in the game, but like, I wonder if they're turning a corner.
Yeah, I mean, I think you even look at just some of these other guys across the lineup, right? And I think at this point of the year, again, we're recording this in a week before Christmas, like, we can say this forward core is pretty flawed. They're still missing probably 1, if not 2, like legit middle 6 players, right? Like, this is not a deep forward core. But I think you can also say that this team is not as bad as they've been the first 8+ weeks of the season, right? Like, there's more that these guys can give and produce, and I think you're seeing that. Whether it's obviously, I think Pastrnak, it was inevitable that he was going to start producing more here. Lindholm settled in, and it feels like he's getting better and more settled in. He's been really impactful, as you said. I mean, he's got 3 points the last 2 games. It's unfortunate because he leaves that game against Seattle early on, but he had like 6 hits in like 6 minutes and 30 seconds of, like, again, didn't lead to anything production wise, but was being a little bit more impactful. And he's not signed to, average like 12 hits a game, but I think you're seeing him show up a little bit more on the tape, right? Beyond just the actual tangible production. So I think that's really encouraging. Even like, as you said, Zacha's been, I think, really playing well since I think Sacco's taken over. He's been more productive, but even like Morgan Geekie, who you can make the argument like, shouldn't be like your top line winger, right? But he's got like 4 goals and 6 points in his last 6 games. Like, he's even a guy like that in an elevated role is producing, and it's helping out this team. And I think you look at other guys, right? Like Charlie Coyle wasn't on the score sheet, I don't think, yesterday or Tuesday, but he gets bumped up to the wing, and he's in kind of this shutdown kind of line with Marchand and Lindholm, and that line was fantastic together. So whether it's guys on the score sheet like Lindholm and Geekie, or guys who I think are just put in a new spot and they're playing better and playing to their identity like Coyle, again, this team still needs help, and I don't mean that in terms of like we need to trade a first round pick for. We're not saying that, but this team I don't think is a complete grouping as far as their forward core, but they also shouldn't be like 29th in the league in scoring as well, right? There's enough guys who have the skill, have the resume of what you saw last year. And again, like you can make the argument that so many guys exceeded expectations last year. Doesn't mean also those same 9 guys also plummet the next year, right? Everyone has more to give, and I think you're starting to see a little bit more of that over these last couple of games.
Yeah, since Sacco took over, Zacha has 5 goals and 4 assists, which is kind of on pace for what he should have. I mean, it's 12 games.
Yeah.
If you got 9 points every 12 games from Zacha, I think you'd be happy. So that's a good thing, yeah, right? Like, let's do the math there. That's good. Pasternak's back at point per game pace. So like he's upped it. The assists are there. Throughout the game, there were times I kind of kept screaming like, shoot the damn puck. And, that overtime goal was awesome. And that's a trademark Pastrnak goal, patient with the puck, clutch, nice shot from the high slot. Like, I do wonder if that gets him going. There are still puck touches with him where I wonder if something's up confidence-wise, like shooting off balance, hesitating on shots, passes that are a little late. There's also some really high IQ passes where you're like, holy crap, how does anyone make that play? I wonder, it's to me, like, I'll look at the glass half full side of it, is that he isn't at his best right now, and he's still producing a lot the last bunch of games, which I think is encouraging. But still, I mean, you look at like the stats, like Zacha's at 16 points through 33 games. Yeah. After Pastrnak and Marchand, Lindholm, 16 points, 4 goals. Like, the overall numbers, you almost want to throw away like Montgomery's time. Like, you want to just start fresh because like these numbers are just low. I mean, even Brazo, 14 points. He's 5th on the team. The numbers, like, again, Charlie Coyle, 9 points in 33 games. Like, that's a big regression. So like, that's why I agree with you. Like, people can say whatever they want. Oh, Coyle's not good enough. Geeky's not good enough. And I agree. Should Geeky be on your top line? No. But to his credit, he's produced. But on the other side of it, like, these guys shouldn't be regressing as hard as they have. Like, You can say Charlie Coyle's not a top 6 center, but he also should have more than 9 points in 33 games. So, like, there's a happy medium there. But again, like, encouraging. I do wonder what ends up happening in the future. I want to get to some more stuff. Frederic, Poitras, maybe some more on last night. But again, the Bruins are doing a little bit better. So if you want to go watch a game, go over to Game Time. Because they are focused on togetherness this holiday season. And that means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better. And it's the perfect gift. We're getting close to Christmas. And stores are going to be a zoo this weekend. So if you want to avoid that, maybe you want to buy tickets for your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, uncle, aunt, whoever, coworker, boss. Who doesn't love tickets? Who doesn't love tickets to a game? And that's where Game Time comes into play, because Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I love the flash deals, especially, don't do this for gifts, but like right before the game. I do love when tickets are on sale and I can get them cheaper than I can get anywhere else. That is a huge perk of Game Time. They also have all-in pricing, so you can see what the total is up front. People always get mad when they see that tickets, oh, that's cheap, and then they see the taxes and they're like, oh my God. They do all-in pricing, so you see it right from the jump, and there's no surprises. There's seat views, there's lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And there's ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
It's game time. Trent Frederic. His most notable moment of that game against Calgary was he gave Pastrnak some water after the overtime winner. And as funny as that is, and it's great content, that's not good. I did not notice Frederic much against Calgary, and I think you can say that about Frederic's game throughout this season, is that it just has been underwhelming. He's had a couple 2-goal games, but outside of that, has just not been as noticeable as he has been in past seasons, and comes at a bad time given its contract year. There's more and more trade rumors surrounding him. Even if the Bruins are in a playoff spot, do you trade Frederic?
I mean, I think it probably depends on what the return is, right? Because, yeah, again, if they are a team that feels like they're locked into a playoff spot, which I still imagine, barring a collapse, are going to be in the picture, right? I think it comes down to 3 things. It's like, 1, do you need a change of identity in terms of someone in your middle 6 grouping, right? 2, is a team going to pay an absurd price for him? And 3, it's for the Bruins, like, do you want to have him here long term, especially at whatever your price point is? I'm sure the Bruins would love to have him if it's his same kind of contract term over a 3, 4, or 5 year deal. But if Frederic and his agent think they can get more, and you look at his skill set, it should be pretty coveted this free agency. It'd help his case if he was doing what he did last year or even improved upon it. But I think you see why. I mean, this has been reported since early November with that Kevin Weeks one report. And there's been other reports as well that Frederic's a really coveted player in terms of trade talks. So I think there's a lot of teams that love what Frederic projects as and what he could bring to a team in terms of that physicality, right? That ability to be a 15, 20 goal guy while being a physical player. And I think probably the underrated part of his game, I think, is just really solid defensively. Like, he doesn't stand out, right? Like, he's not like a friggin' Joel Eriksson-ek or like just an eraser or someone like that. But like, you look at his numbers, right? He's been a really good underrated defensive forward as well. So I can see why teams have a lot of value there beyond, I think, the physicality, which I think is at the forefront. But so for the Bruins, right, if you're not committed to him long term, and a team is, again, willing to give you something that's like the Jeannot return, like something to that effect, or, we mentioned like Connor Garland, which I think you'd have to give quite a bit to make a deal like that happen. But if you're able to package Frederic and get another middle six player that maybe gives you a little bit more offense, right? That's probably a trade-off that the Bruins probably have to make. And if they're, again, looking at him like we're not committed to, signing him long-term at whatever the expected price point is, then I think you see what else you can get out in the market for him. Because, again, it would help if he was producing not only just to help the Bruins right now, but if you get a bigger return. But from what all these reports are, it does feel like teams look at him as kind of that white whale of like, all right, we're getting ready for the playoffs. Like, we need a guy like him in the trenches. And if you're the Bruins, and it's kind of like the Jeannot thing where, again, like, I think people look at Jeannot as being like a significant upgrade over Frederic. Like, he wasn't lighting the world on fire when Tampa gave up all those picks for him, right?
No.
Like, he was a guy that was acquired because of the potential and the style that he would provide to that team. I think you can probably put Frederic in that same boat. I think teams see his skill set and how unique it is in today's NHL, and that's why they want him on their team, which can help the Bruins if they're looking for a good return.
Yeah, and I think if Frederic was producing a lot, either at last year's pace or even more, they could make the Bruins could make the case that, hey, we're going to hold on to him, have him for the playoff run, he can help us, and if we can re-sign him, great, and if we lose him, at least we had one more playoff run with him at him being really effective. That isn't the case. So, like, I think this is a really unique situation because according to these insiders, as you said, these teams want him, and you probably could get a legitimate return. It's just, what's the return on him? Like, are you getting, like, if they're in the playoff picture, I think we all agree this team kind of needs a retool, even if they continue at the pace that they're at. Like, the flaws in the roster have been exposed this year, and I do think that you could use a retool in some form or fashion. So, like, is Frederic going for picks and prospects? Probably not. The Bruins have not been a team that will just, in a playoff spot, hurt their chances. And dealing Frederic for picks and prospects would hurt their chances this year. So it's probably a player for player swap or multiple players. Like, I'm very curious how that works. I think it just comes down to, you can't get nothing from him or nothing for him when the season ends, because if teams are valuing him as much as they are, they're going to outbid you. You have seen the warts in his game. You've had him for a while. I don't think anyone feels comfortable signing on long-term with good money to him around here quite yet, given what he's shown you so far. So, like, that's why this might be an unprecedented year where you got to deal a UFA even though you're in a playoff race. I just wonder what that is. Because I would love a package with, like, the Tanner Jeannot package. Like, I would do that. If the Bruins were in first place, I would do that. But I do wonder what the player is. Who's the swap for? And is it a team that's much higher than you in the playoffs? I would assume it would be out west, right? Like, I don't know if you deal Frederic to a team you could play in the playoffs. But I guess you got to get the best return too, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And yeah, I think it all comes down to, like, and again, perfect world, if he was producing well, the Bruins probably would just pay him. Like, that's also one
that's
thing.
The other.
If he was building off it and was like a legit 20 goal guy and was, showing off, what he did last year, because he was such a a key piece further down the lineup, because I feel like they had an absurd record last year when he would score a goal, right? They were like, I don't even know what it was like. It was like 14 and like 5 or something. It was some like really good number when he would score, adding more offense to the bottom six. So, yeah, if he was playing at a high level, they'd probably keep him, even if like his price tag would probably go up quite a bit. But I think it all comes down to what the return is. If a team is that desperate to bring him on, thinking that he's the missing piece of what they need to go through kind of the gauntlet of the playoffs, then if the return is right, I think if you're the Bruins, you have to assess that. And again, if they're already like looking at what his projected contract could be or what him and his representatives are asking for and being like, I don't think we're going to answer that, and a team is willing to give you a pretty inflated return for him, whether it's a player or picks, what have you, I think you have to weigh that option if you're the Bruins.
Absolutely. Speaking of adding offense to the bottom six, Matt Poitras continues to light up Providence. And one thing you and I were talking about last night when the Bruins were down 3-1 was like, this roster could use him. This roster could use a Lysell or a Merkulov. You can't tell me that this roster is too good for those guys. Now they end up winning. But I think that sentiment still remains. In terms of Poitras, when do you think they should be giving him the call?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think people were talking about it, last weekend when he was really, stuffing the stat sheet, and he still is. Every single game feels like he's producing, but I don't think they were going to fly him all the way out to, Vancouver or anything like that last weekend, just the way the travel is. And I think you'd rather let him marinate there. But I think you see kind of where they are coming off this road trip, whether it's maybe after the new year. Like, I wonder if they're like looking at how well he's playing. They're like, you know what? It's like taking like a steak off the grill. It's like, don't let it rest. Like, don't fuck with it.
Yep.
It's one of those things where, I don't know if I'm sure like regardless of what happens on Thursday against the Oilers, I guarantee you as soon as the Bruins get back for Friday going into Saturday, people will be like, bring Poitras up right now. And it's like, it's tempting, right? Like you look at how he's producing, and if that carries over to the NHL level, like how much of a game changer he could be. Like there's a lot of appeal of like, hell, I'd put him with like Pastrnak and Zacha and see what he got. Like I guarantee you they won't do that. But if you want to, move something like that, or have him be, a further up spot, like in a top 6 role, a lot of appeal to it. But I'd probably wait till after the new year, just because he's playing at such a high level now. I think you're seeing the returns of what he gets for playing 18, 19 minutes a night down in Providence, power play minutes. He's continuing to produce, and I think you're seeing his confidence and his conditioning, all those things that they hoped he was going to get down in Providence. You've seen it play out. So we'll see like how desperate they are, for offense and where exactly they are once they get off of this road trip. But I wouldn't be the guy to be like, as soon as they get back to Boston, you bring him back up. Like I can see why it'd be really tempting, but I would keep him down there for at least another week or so and just see where he's at. And again, maybe he's expecting a call up as soon as they get back, and he'll be bummed if that's the case. But like you're seeing, I think, how well he's playing down there. I don't think it hurts to keep him down there and continue to build his game, because I think the more you keep him down there, the more brace he's going to be for whenever you're expecting him to help out this team down the second half.
Yeah, and I agree that they need him as soon as possible. I completely agree, but I also look at like if they continue to win, or at least kind of string together, 2 wins, a loss, 3 wins, 2 losses, all that stuff. Like maybe you don't want to fully mess with the current roster you have, mainly in the name of what you just said, of letting Poitras marinate down there. It's not urgent to bring him up. Yes, I agree. Poitras is more talented than almost all of the bottom 6. He would be an upgrade over most of the guys in that roster. I completely agree, but his development matters, and it's clearly working down there, and letting him play it out is not a bad idea. Connor, what can the people look forward to from you over at the Globe and Boston.com?
Yeah, you can read all of my stuff over at the Globe and Boston.com. We have you covered every step of the way this Bruins season, whether it's recaps, features, columns, breakdowns, all that good stuff. So please read over at Boston.com and the Boston Globe. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, X, whatever it's called, you can at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all that. That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofski. You Poke the Bear listeners, have a great rest of your week.